Welcome back to Restaurant Review. I'm your host, Bob Bockelman, as usual, and we're here on Saturdays on Channel 77 from 3 to 4. You know our focus by now. We are always aiming to bring you, first of all, the newest restaurants and their chefs in town and local emerging artists. Now, today we have a little bit of mix. Sometimes, you know, we also bring you back either an established artist or an established restaurant. And the reason why we're doing an established restaurant today is because both today and next week's focus will be on the Super Bowl. And what we've got is a great one in the story. We'll tell you why we have this establishment in a few minutes. But before we do that, don't forget our website, restreview.com. Watch for the phone number if you'd like to be in the studio. Give us any suggestions. And don't forget to let us hear from you all the time. Okay, we're going to do our usual now. Take our stroll to the back of the studio and introduce you to today's musical guest. Okay, we're privileged to have today the lovely Lucy Gossett. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lucy's, as I understand right, you're in Loyola?
Yeah, Loyola.
Music department, obviously.
Yes.
Great. But you're not a native, is that right?
No, I'm actually from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, well, that's not bad. St. Louis is a lot like New Orleans, you know, climate-wise and being right on the river. And how long have you been here? Just since college?
Yes, I'm a sophomore.
Great. Are you going to stay around after graduation, or are you going to move on to something else?
I have no idea. I'm just take it as it goes.
Great. Well, she doesn't have a CD yet, folks, or nor a website, but her agent, who's with us today, is working on that. But she does appear locally, and I want to know when you're going to be somewhere so people can see you.
That's going to be February 10th at 10 o'clock at the Neutral Ground Coffee House.
Neutral Ground. That's our friend Phil Melancon's place on Daniel. As you know, we get a lot of talent from that, young talent who hasn't hit the big time, but many of them have gone on, and we really thank him for sending these guys and ladies to us. Okay, why don't you tell us what you can do for your first song?
Okay, I'm going to play a song that I wrote called He Doesn't See That Girl.
Okay.
He carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, so blind with the worries of the day, he fails to see the girl in the corner trying to catch his eye, and he doesn't know that, and he doesn't realize she wants to help him out, make it alright, but he doesn't notice, and he doesn't think twice. She'd do anything just to see him smile, even if it's not for her. He doesn't see that girl. She's so tired of always being seen as the friend. Will they all be so blind to her need? She knows that he doesn't care for her, but that won't make her stop trying to be much more. And he doesn't know that, and he doesn't realize she could be the best thing in his life, but he doesn't notice, and he doesn't think twice. She'd do anything just to make him see all that she can be, but he doesn't see that girl. if he doesn't see that girl. And he doesn't know that, and he doesn't realize she could be the best thing in his life. But he doesn't notice, and he doesn't think twice. She'd do anything just to see him smile, even if it's not for her. He doesn't see that girl.
Very, very nice. Very classical, huh? That was Lucy Gossett, and she'll be back before the end of the show to give us 2 more numbers, so stick around. Okay, now let's get to what we call the meat and potatoes of the matter. As we mentioned, that we've got an established restaurant on for you today, and the focus of today's show is the upcoming Super Bowl. Today's the 24th of January. Next a week from tomorrow is our big Super Bowl. And what we wanted to do, we looked around, we wanted to find what we thought would be the, just like this classy young lady's voice, the classiest place to have lunch and see, or really dinner even, and see the Super Bowl, because Super Bowl is so late this year. But what we want to do, so we looked around, we said, what better place than Smith's and Wollinski's, which is an established restaurant, and more importantly, they've got a magnificent lounge called Doc Smith's, and I don't know if you can see that great menu there. But Doc Smith's and Smith and Wollinski's is part of a restoration of a magnificent old restaurant called Maley's. And we're privileged today to have the general manager, AVRIL Thomas. Welcome to the show, AVRIL.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Great. We, like I said, let's talk a little bit about your restaurant. And one thing, we usually try and bring the chefs on, but I know your executive chef is out of town. Is that right?
That's right. He's in Houston, opening our Houston store, which opened last Monday.
Excellent. Now that's your 3rd location?
No. That's our 10th location of Smith & Wollinski.
Well, I know you started in New York.
We started in New York, and of course we've expanded since then. Started in New York in 1977, Alan Stillman. He is also the creator of TGI Fridays.
Right.
Exactly. So that place and opened Smith & Wollinski, an upscale New York steakhouse.
Right.
His friends said that he couldn't do it, but he did it anyway. So since then, it's been growing and growing. We went public in 2001. So the ideal is to try to open 1 to 2 properties a year.
Right.
So we're on an upward mobility, especially with the new power diets that are out, all the meat without the potatoes, Right. So we've been very, very popular with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, we don't usually feature chains, and not that we want to consider you a chain, but more importantly is that you do match your restaurant to the culture of the city that you go to. And certainly here, you took out something that was really had become an eyesore, had been closed for eons, but one of the real true historical restaurants of our city, and just did a magnificent renovation. In fact, normally we're in the restaurant front part, but really the back part where we are today was really the main focus of Maley's when it was actually established. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And and as you can see from some of the pictures, just luxuriously appointed. And the important thing, even though it's a lounge, it also has a full-scale menu and access to the total menu of Smith & Wollinski. So that's why it qualifies to be on our show, because it is truly a fantastic restaurant.
Yeah, that's great. It was awesome when they opened Smith & Wollinski here, which they opened in 1999. Robert Bruce, who's our executive chef, is 3rd generation Maley's. So his granddad.
That is really a phenomenal story. So that's another part where we're keeping it local, where you really went to that attention, not only of bringing back a great building, but actually keeping it in the family, another generation opening up a local restaurant again. So,
that's for sure.
Great. Well, let's tell, obviously, I believe you're open every day of the week, is that right?
Monday through Sunday.
Monday through Sunday.
Yeah, no downtime.
Okay, and the Doc Smith's actually opens in the latter part of the afternoon, is that right?
It is. The Doc Smith's opened at 4 o'clock until 12, and that's from Sunday until Thursday, and Friday and Saturday we extend the hours to 2 p.m.
Right. Well, I tell you folks, not only is it really the classiest place to go and see the Super Bowl next week, but it's also the dynamite place for our new local NBA team called the Hornets. We were in there the other night, and it was jam-packed. So this is a perfect precursor to the game. It's within walking distance of the arena. And then, of course, I heard after the game, I wasn't there that late, but I heard after the game it's just as rocking. So I really want you to go out there and try if you haven't. We're talking about, and I know people say there's been a rumor around for years that Smith & Wollensky, how can they bring a New York restaurant here? This is a depressed economy and then all that baloney. Well, this is their 5th year of establishment, and not only that, when you see the quality and the quantity of food, you're going to talk about there's a big distinction between price. Sure, it might be more than your local fast food hamburger, but not much more of that. But when you see the quality of the burgers and the other ingredients, you're going to really be surprised today. So I think you'll take a real pleasant trip with us as we go through some of the menu. Anything else you want to talk about the restaurant before we actually hit the menu?
Well, only the fact that our servers there are really on the ball, and they're really there to
Very
create the
knowledgeable
experience for you, for
Yeah.
your diners, guests. You know, it's an incredible restaurant.
They really have a wonderful training program. I was talking to one of the hostesses, and she showed me just the huge amount of material that they have to absorb in order to prepare. I mean, from not the menu.
It's definitely going to school. It really is. It's
really,
a day-by-day process, and they're quizzed daily on these different involved techniques and knowledge of the menu. So,
and once again, really impressed with regard to service and hospitality. For a while there, there was so many serving us that I couldn't keep track of them. So of who was who, I would give the same order to somebody else, and the poor person would have to. Thank goodness they coordinated. But that's not our problem. That's their problem. The important thing is that they are really there to help you, and you really are going to be pleased. But let's go ahead and start with the menu because. We want to show the folks what we actually have for you. Also, you're looking right now, this is magnificent. Attached to that is actually the old courtyard, beautifully done. Right now, in fact, our weather is kind of topsy-turvy. We've got nice days and cool days. But come spring, this is going to be a magnificent place. You'll see some of the beautiful fountains on the courtyard, great wicker furniture. Truly a neat place to gather together and have a meal or some cocktails.
Yeah,
but anyway, there's that fountain. How pretty on that towel.
Great
really.
mojito patio.
Oh, is that? Okay, one other thing, folks. Don't forget our director will put our phone numbers up. We would love for you all to give us a call and talk to AVRIL or our musician. Let us know some questions you might have about the restaurant. So those 2 numbers will be posted several times during the show. Give us a call because we'd love to hear from you to let you know. Sometimes we forget to tell you something, and we'll be glad to go over those details or any explanation that you have or any question about the show. Meanwhile, AVRIL and I are going to go ahead and jump into the menu. And, of course, we always start at that number 1 at the appetizers, and he's got a slew of them on this menu, but we wanted to pick some of the representative ones. And the first one we've got for you, I believe, is your WOLLINSKI, let's see, what was it called? Your andouille and
andouille and crawfish pizza.
Okay, so we jumped ahead. I got it. Sorry, our picture's out of order, but this is. He does great pizzas as appetizers as well, gourmet pizzas, and you're going to see 2 of them. This is the crawfish and what was it, andouille?
Crawfish and andouille pizza. We make our own dough. The sauce, the marinara sauce, is probably the best you ever have in town on a pizza.
I tell you, I'm a what do you call it, thin crust pizza fan. I don't like, and this is one of the best. So if you're one of those thick doughy where it's just nothing but bread, you're trying the wrong thing here, folks. Exactly. This is the perfect pizza dough. Okay, let's see what else if we can bring on. Like I say, so he has several pizzas for you to try, but I'm hoping we'll come up with these great little appetizers. Let's see what else our director can bring up. Is it there's the other pizza. Okay.
Sure. That's just the classic mozzarella pizza.
For the purists, there you go. Exactly. There's the purists. Exactly. So we've got
with just a little chiffonade of basil sprinkled right on top.
He does a muffaletta pizza, several other things, but we really want to move on and see if we can hit on the, what I'm looking for is the andouille and chemise. There it is, folks. This really comes out looking like an oriental dish. This really looks like a spring roll or something, but this is true down-home Cajun food.
It is indeed, man.
Tell us a little bit about it, AVRIL, please.
Well, first of all, we take the phyllo dough and we unroll it and butter each layer, and we take great quality andouille sausage straight from the Cajun land. And, of course, we put a little cheese inside there. We roll them up, and they're baked, not fried, and they're finished with a little poppy seed. for serving with that, we also serve a little Creole mustard on the side.
Wow.
Nice and spicy, great flavors, complimentary. Awesome
Oh
start.
yeah, like I say, it is, and you can see an order is what, almost 5 or 6 things. So
Exactly. Great for sharing. You know, that's
Exactly.
what we. At Smith & Wollinsky, and especially Doc Smith Lounge, we have everybody sharing. You know.
yeah, and that's what we love to push on this program, is that there's nothing like, especially when you first go to a place, trying as much of the food as you can, because even though you might like your particulars, there's some things here someone else, if you get a little taste of it,
Exactly.
you might want to adventure to it the next time. Now the next thing, if it's in order, and again I apologize for some of these pictures not following our script, but it's something, in fact, it was too big for us to be able to photograph totally, and it's really called his seafood shellfish bouquet. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Now, what you're doing, folks, let me just tell you before, we're going to spend some time on this, Mr. Director, so bear with us here. But what we're actually doing, and this is the only way we can get it in to really do its service, is this is actually looking down on a 2-tiered, or really almost 3-tiered platter of the largest variety of shellfish you're going to find around these parts. And like I say, there's a huge ring, even larger underneath here, all covered as you bedded down with ice to keep it perfectly tempered for your taste. Let's go over some, look at the top thing, some of the great ingredients in there, please, AVRIL.
Oh, sure. We're going to start with what's in the little bowl.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
In the little bowl dish, we have just a traditional New Orleans shrimp remoulade.
Shrimp remoulade, excellent.
Chef Robert Bruce grew up in the city cooking all over the place, and that's actually the Mailey's recipe of the
I was going to ask you
remoulade.
that because I figured it was, because it's not the real common one you see a lot of. It's a little different, but I'm saying
Right.
it's excellent.
It's not very mustardy. It has
Right.
just the proper amount of mayonnaise in it, the spices, the herbs. It's great. Alongside of that also is the beautiful, beautiful, colossal, mind you, jumbo lump crab meat.
Crab meat, right.
Yes, indeed. It's served chilled so that it can keep the lumps. We're not breaking them apart. There's at least about 2.5, 3 ounces of crab meat on there.
Huge
Yeah.
amount.
Then we take these beautiful chick lobsters, 1 pound chick lobster. We call them chick lobsters.
Yeah, I was going to say, explain that, because most people have heard of prawns and rock lobsters, but never
Yeah.
heard of a chick.
Well, these chick lobsters is only because of the size. They're the
right.
runt of the litter. You know,
Right.
Usually what we serve on our menu on the dining room
the
side,
front side, yeah.
we serve 2.5, 3.5,
Upward,
and
2.5
4
pound up,
pounder.
yeah, right. These are like a
lobsters.
pound or less. Is that what-
Exactly. So these are the little small baby chick lobsters that we do, and they're just perfectly balled, and then they're chilled,
Right.
and they're used for a cocktail. We serve them with several sauces, a mignonette sauce.
Yeah, again, that's I apologize, folks. There's a series of sauces to the left of
Oh,
this
God,
photo that
yeah.
we couldn't get in the photo. It's just too much to photograph in one thing. But right, go ahead. Some about the sauces before we move on.
Sure, the mignonette sauce. Also, there's a spicy mayonnaise sauce,
Okay.
which a lot of Bostonians like.
Yeah.
And of course, we serve the traditional cocktail
Sauce, right?
Correct.
Which is perfect for the next part of that plate. Those jumbo shrimp.
The jumbo shrimp,
Just
exactly.
tremendous. And then mussels. Are those mussels? Yeah, it was mussels. not
Exactly.
clams, yeah.
Those are green lip mussels from Maine, actually.
Maine? Oh,
yes,
really?
Indeed.
Okay.
Beautiful mussels flown in all the time.
And you're steaming those, or how are you preparing them?
They are steamed, then they're chilled as well, so that they can. It goes well with the sauces as well. Great
Okay.
mignonette.
Before we hit that bottom level, AVRIL, we already got somebody calling, so we always like to keep our audience
wonderful.
informed. Welcome to Restaurant Review. You're talking to AVRIL Thomas and Bob from, who are we speaking to, please?
You're speaking to Chris.
Chris?
Yes.
Yes, what can we do for you, Chris?
I want to know where you're located at and what. I wanted to know where you're located and is your place wheelchair accessible?
Okay, very good question. You don't see, these are the details that we get so involved with the menu and
Sure.
that we forget about. And someone asks the same question, like I say, Bob, you're slipping, you're getting real old, you forget to tell where the restaurant is. Well, we think everyone knows because it is an established restaurant. But it is in the heart of our community, right downtown on the corner of POYDRAS and
Rampart.
Rampart. Well, really, it really goes through to both sides.
Exactly. It's from O'Keefe on one side, Rampart on the other side. 1009 Poydras. We're cat corner from the Energy Center.
From the huge, beautiful, magnificent Energy Center. And we're talking about a block or 2 blocks from the Superdome, right there on Loyola and POYDRAS. So we're not talking about far walk. That's why we said it's so convenient to the folks who are going to either the arena or the Super Bowl, or really getting the hotel folk nearby. So thank you very much, Chris. And as for wheelchair accessibility and ADA, I'm sure it meets all the ADA requirements that every restaurant has. So
exactly. So.
Magnificent. And they even have valet parking, is that right?
Valet parking right outside.
Right outside. You just pull up and let them take it for you. But it's a great, conveniently located downtown CBD, across from City Hall, across from anything that's important, you're nearby. So this is a great, great place. Anything else, Chris? Okay, well, thanks again for calling, and again for those kind of details, because those are the things that sometimes we pass over in our rush to get the information on the food to you. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can go back to finish off that. We were talking about the shellfish bouquet. We finished the top, but let's talk about the bottom that nobody can see here.
Yeah. Well, underneath what you have there would be the beautiful marinated Louisiana blue crab claws that are marinated within its own marinade, olive oil, herbs, spices. It's very, very delicious. Very, very delicious. One other thing that we didn't talk about is those beautiful 10-count shrimp that we have there. Yeah,
we kind of glossed over them because right when you said cocktail, and I wanted to get through there when I saw a caller was through. So yeah, magnificent. But underneath, what else was there underneath?
Well, you got the crab claws, and we have more of the lobster.
Lobster, huh?
Yes, indeed. It's just oysters on a half shell. Usually 2 types of oysters. Of course, we try to feature the Louisiana oysters that we have here, and also we get some of the Corbuda oysters that we get from California somewhere.
I tell you, folks, this is an entire meal.
Yeah, clams, chilled clams.
You've got to really be having a party or a dining party. No individual could finish all of this off. The only thing that needs to be served, and I know they bring it to you, is a wonderful variety of breads that they put on the table. We'll see a little picture of that a little later, which makes it fait complete. But let's move on forward, and we want to talk about soups and salads, and I know you've got several of them. I think they do. Let's see which one's first. Either the gumbo. Yes, this is your gumbo. Is that right?
No, this particular soup is the split pea soup.
Split pea. This is WOLLINSKI split pea soup.
WOLLINSKI split pea soup, served with some toasted croutons. This soup stays the same throughout the company. You can go to New York, Dallas, Houston, Philadelphia, Columbus, wherever you go, you're going to taste the same great flavor, bacon-infused split pea soup.
It's got a real good flavor, folks, and doesn't have that green color like you say, well, it doesn't look like split pea, but it really has almost a wood burning. I was telling AVRIL that it's got almost like a wood burn cook to a flavor, not smoked, but really a traditional flavor that really was excellent. So there, like he says, no matter where you go, in Smith & Wollinski, you'll get that consistently good split pea soup. Now, the soup today, and I've forgotten what we had that day. Hopefully you can remember. If not, I'll check my notes.
Probably was the great turtle soup that we do in the restaurant. With sherry.
Magnificent.
There it is. Beautiful.
And this is such a tradition in New Orleans. This is one of the things we talked about recently. We talk about on this show how many dishes used to be on New Orleans menus standardly. Any restaurant you'd go to early in our days of growing up, turtle soup was just a natural. That was your natural soup. One of the things that have disappeared back since the 70s and 80s, things like this. Unfortunately, they're coming back, revisiting the traditional things, and of course with the touch of sherry in it, you can't beat it. But all the different flavors, I think there 7 different meats in turtle that is just great flavor.
Right. Well, Bob, we wanted to do something that's naturally New Orleans.
There you go. There
we go. Turtle soup, the hard-boiled egg, tomatoes, sherry. How can we do it?
Excellent. Now he's got about, just looking at his menu, he's got about 10 different salads for not just the ladies, for a lot of us who are, not myself of course, but who are getting more concerned with heart healthy foods and this and the other. But we took the WOLLINSKI salad because it is really, first of all, again, if you look at this looks like a salad bowl for 4. It's so large. But they've got some unique things. It's not real fanciful, but there's some ingredients in here that make it so distinctive. Let's talk about it, please, AVRIL.
Well, sure. We used only chilled romaine lettuce. The croutons that you see are actually potato brabants.
Right.
So they're deep fried. Then there's mushroom caps that are also in there. And it's finished with lardons, which are the very thick cut of bacon bits, you know.
Unbelievable.
And it's all tossed with our infused emulsion of vinaigrette.
I'm telling you, folks, the greatness of the crouton, you expect a little crunchiness, you do, but it's the Brabant potato style, wonderful dressing, but the infusion of those bacon bits, the heaviness, not the heaviness, but the thickness of the consistency, as you bite into that, it has absorbed a lot of that vinegar dressing. Really a taste treat. But again, way too much for one person. I mean, even if for an entree, for someone who just eats that, that's still too much to eat. So again, we're hoping to show you that the value here is phenomenal with regard to the quantity of food that you have. That is their philosophy, to really make the diner satisfied and giving him the first quality food. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Let's actually start getting into the entrees, because time is flying and we want to go back to our lovely musical artists. I think... let's see what we did on our first entree. I believe it was the lemon pepper chicken. Yeah, folks, look at this. And when we say lemon pepper chicken, we're talking about a whole chicken. You know, most places you go, you get in a quarter of a piece or a half. Unfortunately, I got to stop and interrupt because we've got another caller on hold. AVRIL, see, they're loving your restaurant.
I love that.
Welcome to Restaurant Review. We're talking to AVRIL Thomas. And Bob, who are we calling? Who's calling, please?
Hi, this is Chris again.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome. What can we help you with something?
Yes, this is Chris again.
Hey, Chris.
I wanted to know your time. What time do you open and what time do you close?
Oh, okay, Chris, you might have missed it. AVRIL did address that in the earlier part, and that is they're open 7 days a week. And now again, remember, we're really talking about two restaurants in one. We're looking at the lounge, which serves all of the restaurant food as well as its own menu selections. And it actually opens, I think you said at 4 every day, is that right?
Exactly, from 4 until 12.
12 during the weekdays, and
Friday and Saturday until 2.
Till 2 to accommodate the weekend traffic.
Correct.
Everybody's
and
out
the
late.
kitchen is open up until
But
2
now the
p.m.,
regular
2 a.m.
Smiths and Wollinskis, for someone who might want to try the regular restaurant out the back, how does that differ from a time?
Well, we open at 11 o'clock for lunch.
For lunch. And lunch on what day? Every day?
Every day for lunch.
So you're providing lunch? Oh, I didn't know you were serving lunch every day.
We do
Okay.
brunch on Sunday. So
okay.
we're open 11 until close. We never
Excellent.
close the door.
Okay. Thanks, Chris, very much again, and I appreciate it. Sorry we didn't cover that maybe in the first part. Let's move on, though, AVRIL, because, again, we want to address this. We had the...
Sure, that lemon pepper chicken that you saw.
Yeah, that whole chicken. Look at that.
Oh,
Look at the knife sticking coming out of that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we get a lot of reviews on that because, you know, like I said, we're part of family, and that's what we want to project. Millie's being a family-ran and owned restaurant, we wanted to capture some of that in Doc Smith's and on the Smith Wollinski side. And it's all about sharing food. What better way to share with family than to share some of your food? So a chicken this large, you can't help but pass a leg or a wing over.
Right. And it's pull apart. I mean, it just falls off the bone. It's so tender, you really barely need that knife. Now, the only thing I thought it was, I have to admit, I thought it was going to be much spicier than it was. But at the same time, I'm glad it wasn't. Now, there is, obviously, the spice is in, the pepper is in the dressing.
Exactly.
But the meat itself, so this is great because a lot of people can't handle the spices.
Exactly.
So if they think it's so spicy, they're not going to be able to infuse.
Right. We just want you to have that flavor. That was the chef's main goal in that dish, to have the flavor of the lemon and to know that the pepper is there. If you want it spicy, we could do a Cajun style, but
there you go.
That's a whole different story.
Okay, let's move on. I know we had another dish that was, I know we wanted to show some of your sandwiches, I believe. I think we have, is it the Doc Smith burger? Remember we talked about this early in the show, folks. We were saying how about this is not much more than what you're paying at a fast food or an independent. But if you see the size of this, it's hard for you to estimate in this picture. And the quality of the meat, it was just phenomenal. Tell us about this burger. It was really great.
I tell you what, we have a recipe that's company-wide when we're making grounding out beef. And it's from only the best of the sirloin and the filet tips that we get in. And it's so wonderful, man. This is actually close to a pound in weight.
I was going to say, it's got to be a pound. I mean, it is one of the largest. And you can't even tell the thickness on that from that because it's so smothered with the cheese.
It's huge, man.
But it is
cheddar cheese melted right on top. We have Tabasco-style coleslaw right in the ramekin there. We cure our own kosher pickles in-house. The French fries are all poached and cut right there in the restaurant. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, we're a late night restaurant. You go out, you've been drinking, you need to stop by, get some food in your system so that you won't catch that DWI, you know what I mean? So stop at Doc Smith's, get you a big cheeseburger. That'll absorb so much alcohol.
But again, we're not, it's not just the alcohol here.
It's not just the alcohol.
We're going to tell them we'll talk about the beverages. It's a fun thing, though, man. We're going to talk about the beverages after our second song.
It's a fun thing, man.
Anyway, I understand. We can't deny it. And we're going to talk all about the beverages afforded not only at Doc Smith, but in the restaurant after we come back from our second song. Now, I believe we might have one more entree sandwich. I believe one of your po' boy sandwiches. Was that it? Let's see. Do we have another picture, Mr. Director? If not, no. Okay. Well, let's just hit a couple of other highlights, even though we don't have pictures, before we move back to our musician. I know you do, as I mentioned, the other po' boys you do. I know you do some seafood po' boys, don't you?
We do the oyster po' boy. We have a special dish on there named after one of the city's great people that frequent the restaurant, Gene Nathan's BLT, and that's beautiful fried, crispy fried oysters with bacon, lettuce, and tomato. It's so good, man.
Wow, so the BLT really with oysters, that's a great combo.
We also do the shrimp po' boy if that's what you desire. Of course, being a steakhouse on the other side, we do a spicy steak po' boy, which is outstanding. In New York, they do that same sandwich, but of course with a hoagie. So down south, we use that.
Can't use this hoagie bread here.
Good French bread, nice and crusty. You take a bite and you got to brush your shirt off. It's so good, man. Gravy running down your elbow.
Now you're talking. That's home cooking here.
Yes, indeed.
Any other? Well, let's talk real quickly about. We really have overlooked the primary, and that's because we really delegate. We think we delegate that to the restaurant, and that is the steaks. You can, as you mentioned, you can get any of the steaks that you can get in the main restaurant here, and we kind of push it toward the restaurant, but we really should talk about the quality and the level of steaks that you offer in both of the restaurants here.
I tell you what, the steaks here at Smith & Wollensky is really a feature. It really is. Our steaks are dry aged, which separates a flavor that's you can't get anywhere else in the city. Dry age anywhere from the time of 18 to 21 to 28 days of aging. We have this great Cajun ribeye that's outstanding, spicy, but not over spicy. Just the right amount of salt, 22 to 28 ounces. Unbelievable, man.
And what cuts do we have besides, I'm sorry, Von?
We got the Colorado, which is the bone-on ribeye. We have the, of course, the New York strip. Right. And we also have the sirloin. We have the filet, and they come in different weights. The filet is 12 and 16 ounces. We do a sirloin also at 12 and 16 ounces. And, of course, the ribeyes are 28 ounces to 32 ounces.
And a couple of the classic sides, let's talk about that, because you wouldn't be a real steakhouse if you didn't have the magnificent sides that go along with those steaks.
Unbelievable. We do a great job with cream spinach. Matter of fact, we use that same recipe of cream spinach on brunch and do a dish that's near and dear to a lot of people here in town, the egg sardou, poached eggs, artichoke, cream spinach, and hollandaise sauce.
Hollandaise on top.
Unbelievable. Asparagus, pencil asparagus that's been steamed, then pan roasted. What can I say, man?
And how about potatoes?
Potatoes.
You got to have a lieu of them.
Great baked potatoes. We have what we call mashed and creamed potatoes on the menu. Of course, the French fries, which you taste with the hamburger. Right. Unbelievable. Onions, sauteed onions that are sauteed. Beautiful mushrooms that's been marinated and then broiled. Unbelievable, man. We got some great sides, some wonderful sides there.
So again, folks, we're featured because that is really the basis of the Smith & Wollensky philosophy is their steaks. And even though we haven't emphasized it too much here in this restaurant in the lounge area, because we wanted to show you the variety of food, and at the same time there's all what we've talked about and a lot more in the main restaurant. So again, it's not relegated to steaks. But most people, when they want to sit down and eat a steak, they're not in that rush. They want to be in a nice steakhouse and really enjoy that class. So, but either place is going to be extremely comfortable, beautiful setting. Okay, I think we still have a few more minutes, and let's see if there's anything else that we want to talk about before we move back to our musician. Any other Any other entrees that would really knock their socks off that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, there is actually one that's on the Doc Smith's Lounge menu.
Okay.
It's the angry shrimp.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I thought I underlined it and forgot to ask you. What do they mean by mean shrimp or angry shrimp?
The angry shrimp is just a technique. We got it from in New York. They created a dish for a customer called the angry lobster.
Okay.
And basically, it's just seasoning it up very well with our Cajun spices here, with a little lemon butter, a little white wine, and then sauteing it all together, having it almost crispy. It gives you that blackened look on the shrimp once you sear it, and then put the butter sauce into the pan. And man, let me tell you, a great cold, icy Pilsner beer, you're out to go.
So you're
good to go.
That's almost like your version of our barbecue shrimp. I mean, it's a little different, not slightly different, yeah. But
not
hints
so
of
much.
that.
Exactly. We got some hints of that there.
Yeah.
But
well, of course, that's so important to our community because we love that barbecue shrimp. So.
Exactly so.
Okay, folks, we've been talking to AVRIL Thomas. He's the general manager. The executive chef, Robert Bruce, is unfortunately been busy with opening their new location in Houston and hadn't gotten back for the show. So AVRIL was kind enough to step in, being the general manager. He knows every nook and cranny of the restaurant. Done a great job with going over all of the ingredients and all the menu items. We're going to come back in a little bit and finish off with the desserts and some beverages and anything special that AVRIL wants to tell you about his restaurant. Meanwhile, we want to go back. We have the lovely Lucy Gossett in the station, and she's graced us with her first song. And if we can hear from Groot, Lucy, what would you like to do for your second song, please?
My next song is going to be Strong Enough.
unbreakable. I can handle anything. I can face the truth if you just tell me. Just break it gently to me. But I'm stronger. I'm strong enough. I'm unbreakable. I can handle anything. I can face the truth if you just tell me. Just tell me, but break it gently. Oh, to me. But I'm stronger than you think.
Very, very nice. You can see our
Nice.
small audience is very vociferous. Lucy Gossett is just truly a classical artist and doing a bang-up job. And for those who didn't catch the beginning of it, she's a sophomore at Loyola, got a couple of years ahead of her, but her polish is certainly way out there. So she's going to be certainly a future artist for you to look for. So don't forget her appearance at the Neutral Ground on February 10th. Okay, we're matched up our artists, I think, perfectly with our restaurant today. We've got the classiest restaurant, and we say our focus is to get out there and see the Super Bowl next week, or of course anytime this week if you want to catch a home Hornets game, or even if the Hornets aren't there, to see it even better on one of the TV things. We're pleased to have AVRIL Thomas, the general manager of Doc Smith's Lounge in Smith's and Wollinski's fabulous restaurant right downtown on POYDRAS, across from the Energy Center, in a total makeover of a long-standing New Orleans restaurant called Maylee's, a family that's well known in the community. And as he mentioned, his executive chef, who's not with us today, is opening up the Houston store, Robert Bruce, is third generation Maylee's, right in there continuing the tradition. Okay, AVRIL, we've gone over a lot of the menu. Again, your menu is very extensive, so we can't hit it all on the short time we have. But let's try and see if we can do a little justice to some of the desserts, and we'll see if we can tempt some of the folks. When they see this first dessert, if they're not going to be convinced that the quantity matches the quality of food, then I don't know what else could show them, because the old adage, the picture's worth 10,000 words. Mr. Director, if you'll bring up his chocolate mousse cake. And folks, the picture does not even give you a size. Can you tell us how big this, not only the number of layers, it looks a lot like our dough bash we have locally here, but again, the size of this cake was tremendous. Can you give us an idea how big that piece is?
Oh my gosh, it's big, man.
Big.
It's huge.
It's at least a fourth of a cake, if not larger than that.
It really is.
Certainly not a dessert for one person. There's no one person. I mean, you'd have to be starving for several days and not eat anything else to get through it. Magnificent chocolate mousse cake, drizzled with more hot fudge, and of course, you see, you got that great scalpel sticking in it for you to slice it. We couldn't even try much of it because we had eaten most of the other stuff and wanted to try some of the other desserts and hated to do an injustice to that magnificent piece of cake. But we also want to talk about, so you can see that, one more shot of that. Look at that, folks. I mean,
That's
that
great,
is
man.
for the chocoholic. And like I say, very similar to what we call dough bash here cake. So if you remember the old days of dough bash, this is something New Orleanians will certainly take to right away. But another thing that you do is, of course, traditionally, another one of our famous dishes here is pecan pie.
Yeah.
And again, with a little slight twitch. So let's talk about it and see if we get that picture up. Tell us what's different about this pecan pie.
Well, this is a bourbon pecan pie
Okay.
with chocolate drizzles.
Right.
We brought that back. We opened a restaurant serving this particular dessert, and it sort of fell by the wayside. But being down south,
There you go.
you know, we needed to have something in desserts that's going to fit the bill here. This is actually a junior slice. You should see it now. We've almost doubled up on the,
Oh, my
on the
goodness.
size of this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's delicious. Served warm with just a little chocolate drizzles, and we do offer, of course, whipped cream on
Whipped cream,
top.
you really want to get sick, huh?
Oh man, ice cream, whipped cream.
But the bourbon on it really enhances the and it is a very traditional way New Orleanians used to eat their pecan pie with drizzled with bourbon. The chocolate, that's a little different, but again, it's not enough of a chocolate taste to destroy it or to overcome it, so overwhelm it. So the key there is, if you don't like the chocolate, you really don't even get into it because it's really at the base of the situation. So really a good one. And then, of course, they had to bring down to us their native New York cheesecake, and this is one of the purest ones. A lot of people call New York cheesecake down here, but they really don't know what it is. It's really one of the purest cheesecakes I've tasted, and so much like New York. Do you want to tell us anything specific about it?
This is it. Just very creamy, nothing added to it, no graham cracker crust, nothing else. It's just straight from Boogie Down Bronx, New York cheesecake. Matter of fact, we display it on our dessert cart to let you know that it's been store-bought. We don't even try to do the cheesecake,
right,
because we feel that the quintessential cheesecake is from New York.
Right.
And this company that we get it from, they do a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, let's talk about a few of the other desserts, even though we don't have pictures, and then we'll hit some beverages and then
certainly
take it out.
Certainly.
Tell us about, because I know you have a slew. Pick another one or two.
We do a chocolate creme brulee, which is definitely a twist. I mean, if you're a creme brulee lover,
right,
it's a milk chocolate creme brulee,
wow,
and it's served with the chocolate truffle and strawberries on the side.
Truffle and strawberry.
Yeah,
well,
we want you to get your feel, man.
That's sinful. That's sinful. I saw it, and I didn't see the actual product, but I saw it on the menu. I said, it sure sounds good. Now that you described it, I know what I need next time. One more, and then we'll talk about some other things.
We also do this colossal size coconut cream cake as well.
That is my favorite. It can't be as colossal as that chocolate mousse.
It meets the colossal. It meets the mousse.
It meets the
It's coconut meets chocolate.
I might have done some damage with that.
Oh my gosh, man! During seasons like Easter and Christmas, you see a lot of families coming in and sharing coconut cake. It's just one of those celebratory classic cakes.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about beverages, because again, folks, there's nothing better than to be able to wash down some of these magnificent treats we've talked about with some of the huge variety of beverages you have. First of all, back in Doc Smith's Lounge, you have some really talented young ladies who are just so knowledgeable about it's so expansive, their knowledge of drinks, from the old line mint juleps to the crazy new stuff they do, the mojitos, the Cosmos. I know I wasn't in the mood for drinks, so I asked for, one of my favorite drinks has always been a Bloody Bull. And I asked for a virgin Bloody Bull, and I'm telling you folks, the best one I've ever had. The reason why I used to always drink that is because I said it's your whole meal. It's self-contained. You've got your beverage, you've got your fruit juice, you've got salad ingredients, so it's everything but dessert,
Exactly.
And this one added one even more. Besides the olives and the celery and just the bouillon, the soup, they had a huge stick, it beats all, of beef jerky. And it sounds silly, but you won't believe how good, when that beef jerky would soak up the ingredients of that soup and the bouillon. Right. Absolutely fabulous. So folks, I highly recommend that one. But I know there's a tremendous selection. These girls can fit any bill you want. But let's talk first of all a little bit about the wine philosophy of the restaurant, even though that also pervades over to Doc Smith.
Well, Alan Stillman, he's really a wine Epicurean. He loves his wines. He loves the big Cabernets from California. So our wine list has been on the Wine Spectator, Grand Award for many of years in all locations. Our wine list is always one of those that you can go out to and know that you can find value as well as you can find something that's...
So you'd be all to all people. You all things to all people.
We can hit that for you, man.
Well, that's good. Sure. Of course, not many can do that, and that's what I'm saying. So it's really a tribute when you can bring a restaurant of this caliber to show that the magnitude of the wine. Because today, of course, wine being so important with the meal, that's what everyone wants to know, what the extent is. But whatever you choose here is going to do justice to this food, because the food is just phenomenal. Yeah. And the only thing we object to today's restaurant is, unfortunately, several of the restaurants, wine is the leader.
Right.
The food should still be the leader. Your wine should be your complement, your supplement, and here it's certainly the situation. The food is there for you folks, so you don't have to worry about coloring it with an alcoholic beverage. Well, all you do there is supplement the meal. And anything else you want to tell us about the beverages? I know you've got a full line of probably beers certainly in the lounge.
Yes, indeed. We do, because it's a sports board, we want to keep it fun. We want to keep it approachable for everybody that want to come. So we do some of the trendy wine coolers.
Right.
People that don't like that heavy alcoholic taste, we carry those things. But some of our specialty cocktails is what keep the crowds drawing in for. Whenever there's a Hornets game, we have our bartenders, Bridget and Sheila. They created this Hornet Sting.
I heard it. I heard about it.
Oh, my God.
I heard it matches the uniform, the colors.
Don't get bit by the bee.
But folks, that's another thing we didn't mention because we weren't really trying to focus too much on the sports atmosphere, even though we're talking about the best place to go eat Super Bowl lunch or dinner. But if you look around, it's so unique the way they place the TV screens, beautiful liquid screens or the flat screens, whatever you call it, but all done so discreetly not to interfere. Too many sports bars, that's the first thing you see is the screen, and you don't see anything else. Here it's tastefully done. The bar itself, which we didn't talk about, is over 300 years old. It started, I believe, as a French ship, somehow, and eventually got to the quarter, was dismantled, then bought eventually by the Melees and created for that restaurant.
Exactly.
So 300 years old, and sure enough, there's this huge screen TV that's tastefully put in there. It just looks like it's a piece of the furniture. It's amazing. Wow. And others in the other room just really discreetly placed so that if you want to focus on that, you got it, but at the same time, not to be disruptive to anyone else who's not really interested in what's going on.
Exactly,
on the screen.
Bob. We want to think conversation first, then sports later. We want the music is always played at a level where there's still a pleasant conversation level that you could have with your guests without screaming. So I think we've accomplished that over at Doc Smith's Lounge. But thank you for talking about the Super Bowl, because we're going to have some pretzels out, and we're going to have all the game fare going for you. And we're going to bring some different beers in for Super Bowl as well for those huge beer lovers.
Excellent. Well, you're going to pack them in there, I know. Like I say, if the Hornets are any indication, you must really have loved the Hornets move to here, because, it's really a tribute to High City to see how we have patronized that team, especially with our NFL, that we're so dedicated here. A lot of people didn't believe we could extend ourselves beyond the football arena, but it truly is a magnificent place to go, and this is perfectly situated for any of the sports or really any of the other things that go on in the city. Once again, we want to thank AVRIL Thomas, the general manager of Smith & Wollensky's and Doc Smith's Lounge, for sharing with us beautiful restaurant, magnificent food. We encourage you to try them. Remember, they're open 7 days a week, both parts. The main restaurant is open at lunch and brunch on Sunday as well as evening. This is open late night on the weekends and weeknights, midnight, so that's pretty darn late for trying any of these venues that we've talked about. Valet parking, easy to find, beautiful restoration. We want you to stay tuned. Don't forget, next week, before we throw it to our musical artists, we've got our other Super Bowl show, which will be right the day before. And there we wanted to do we go back to our idea of new restaurants. We got a restaurant that's only a few months old, but it's a new sports grill called Brewhouse Grill in our mid-city. So it's really geared towards strictly sports. It doesn't have any of the class or I don't mean that in the wrong distinction, but it's not the flu, not the really delicateness that we talked about today. It's down and gritty, but it's what we all like, when, of course, when we want to see a sport. So see that next week. Meanwhile, we want to turn it over to and let our lovely guest, Miss Lucy Gossett, do her final song. Come back to us next Saturday, and don't forget, we love hearing from you. Lucy, what can you take us out with, please?
I'm going to take you out with some Heartbreak.
Well, he promised her a lifetime together, but the future is not something you can see. For one day that boy decided better run rather than hide it, so he left the girl alone and he was free. Oh, isn't life real funny? needs the time to grieve. Yeah, she knows that he's not what she needs. No, she's got to hold her head higher, stand a little bit straighter, hide her desire, know that she's off much better. She's working on her and getting stronger. She's on her own 2 feet. Well, if you've listened, there's a lesson to my story. And if you haven't, then just hear and learn from me. Though it hurts in the beginning, in the end we'll be left grinning if we don't let them get the best of you and me. Oh, isn't life real funny? It's love that gets them running. Oh yes, it's rough, but baby, you're real tough. Heartbreak just makes, I said, a